G'day guys, it's Phil here from Fit Empire and Wellness. Today I want to do a quick video for you guys to show you exactly how easy it is to read a nutrition panel, so you guys can get a better understanding about the food you're choosing to eat and also help you in the future to make the best decision possible. And we're also going to go through the STAR system as well. You may have seen the STAR system around the place on different foods in supermarkets. I want to go through and dispel a few myths about that. But guys, we'll get started on nutrition panels. And we'll get straight into it, okay? So this is Farmhouse White. So what you probably picked up on the fact that this is a loaf of bread. So guys, we'll talk about this. So this is a pretty standard nutrition panel, okay? So in Australia, they have to follow a certain guideline. So they all look about the same, okay? There are some slight variations in some cases, but this is pretty much what they're gonna look like, okay? So guys, on that first left-hand side, you'll see energy, protein, fat, carbohydrates, sodium, and fiber. Now, with the exception of energy and sodium, the rest of them are what we call the macronutrients, okay? So macronutrients, guys, for those of you who aren't too sure, macro means large. They're any nutrient which actually introduces an energy value into the body. Now that top row there, that energy row, we will go through that in just a second. But guys, the protein, fats, carbohydrates, and fiber, they introduce an energy into the body, which we obviously have to combat through activity and exercise, okay? Next column over there, guys, is the average quantity per serving. Now this is a really important one, guys. This actually links to that little bit at the top there that I've just highlighted, because it says here servings per 680 gram loaf is 16 and a serving size is 42 grams. So what that tells me is it's a piece of bread would be a serving size, and that serving size would be 42 grams, and then that data in that column is correlating to that 42 grams. Now, I will say I don't often use this column unless I'm doing a consult for a particular person, and the reason why is because products do get a bit tricky. I tend to use the column on the right hand side, which is the average quantity per 100 grams, and the reason why is to be honest with you, it's marketing. A lot of brands actually get a bit tricky with their marketing and their serving sizes by saying they might say, for example, on their label, less than 5 grams of fat. But what they mean is less than 5 grams of fat per serving, but the serving could be some obscure amount like 17 grams, whereas no one's getting at their scales and weighing 17 grams, okay? So it's really important we do understand that when they make claims like on the label, they mean per serving. So guys, the more accurate way of getting energy or getting the nutrients from a food is using that right-hand column, that per 100 gram. Okay, then you can actually do the math yourself and work backwards to how much you're actually choosing to consume rather than what they're dictating to be an actual serving size, okay? You'll also see, guys, on the nutrition panels, in most cases in Australia, they could be slightly to the side or slightly below, but in Australia, we actually have to have an ingredient list. You'll even see on those salad mixes in Coles and Woolworths, there's still an ingredient panel there, and that's because anytime something's in a packet in Australia, it has to have the ingredients on the label itself, okay? So in most cases, you'll see it attached just like this one here, but in some cases, they might be slightly off to the side or slightly below it as well, but it will be there. That is the Australian food regulations. Okay, guys, move on now to the energy column. Sorry, energy row I mentioned before. Now in Australia, guys, we don't use calories, actually. We actually use kilojoules, although most of us speak in calories, okay? So what exactly is a kilojoule versus a calorie? A kilojoule is 4.19 calories. Sorry, got that wrong. A calorie is 4.19 kilojoules. The actual exact number is 4.186, but guys, for this purpose, we're going to actually round up. We're going to go 4.19. So a really simple way of doing it, guys, we're going to use that right-hand column, that 894 kilojoules, and we're going to divide that by 4.19, and that is going to give us the fact that 100 grams of this product, given the fact it's bread, is 213 calories. So being the fact it's white bread, it's going to be a little bit high in calories. So 213 calories is quite high for a couple pieces of bread. But guys, that's exactly how to do it. 894 kilojoules divided by 4.19 gives us 213 calories. Now, why is this column so important, guys? Why is it important to understand the energy of each food you're eating? Is because energy intake versus energy output is still the biggest controller of your success. So what that means is what we choose to eat versus the classes we do or the training we do or the movement we have through the day will determine whether or not we achieve our goals, okay? So what we eat versus what we put out in activity will determine whether or not we achieve our goals. That's a really important thing to remember, guys. Energy in versus energy out determines our success, okay? Now, guys, the average dietary intake is 8,400 kilojoules or 2,000 calories for women, or 10,500 kilojoules or 2,500 calories for men. Now, I will point out this is the average. This is not what's healthy or what's right for you. Okay, and I'll point that out is because when you go to, for example, Subway or McDonald's or any of those fast food places, they often have that list there. They'll say the average daily intake for an adult is 8,400 kilojoules. What that doesn't tell you is that, Australia has a 60% obesity epidemic at the moment. So I'll point out to you that just because it's the average doesn't mean it's healthy. It's just what the average is from go to woe of the population of Australia. So make sure you're eating for your needs, not somebody else's, okay? So guys, the next column, the next row I should say is protein. What exactly does protein do apart from build muscle like we all know? Well, protein does so much more than that, guys. It actually helps to provide amino acids for our liver, our kidney, our spleen, and skin. And they actually are in charge of detoxifying the body of all the different crap and waste products and toxins we've got built up in our blood. Those 4 things and a couple other things throughout the body actually help to pull all those things out of the body and actually allow us to stay nice and healthy. Protein also helps to regulate hormones and enzymes that will help make you who you are, okay? So there's a whole bunch of hormones, guys. So insulin obviously is one of them for sugar. They're all made up of different amino acids and different peptides that all derive from protein. Okay, protein is also very important for gut health, guys, and also helps to keep your immune system signal firing, okay? So your immune system is really important to keep us healthy. It helps to fight off pathogens and different nasties we often breathe in or get in through our food. So protein actually helps to fight those off as well, and also helps to keep our gut health nice and healthy, which is really important for good bacteria to keep us healthy also. So protein controls one of the most important hormones, guys, and that hormone is called somatotropin, or HGH, which stands for human growth hormone. And that actually is what helps our body grow and restore and recover. So when our hair grow, our nails grow, our skins regenerate, a lot of that has to do with the hormone called human growth hormone, or somatotropin. Protein actually plays a big key role in that movement as well. Guys, also, don't forget that when we're low in energy, so when our body starts to run out of carbohydrates, our body also taps into our protein source and goes through a process known as gluconeogenesis, which means to create new glucose. So gluco means sugar, neo means new, genesis means to create. It creates new sugar and from the protein and actually helps us continue on our merry way. Now, this is a process that only happens for a short period of time before our body starts to tap into other energy systems, for example, fat, body fat, which is stored, but the protein is really important for energy production, just like the other nutrients are as well. Then and only then, guys, if there's some left over, our body will start to go to work to repair and recover muscle and other soft tissue, guys. So while we think of protein to do with muscle, you can see here that there's so much more. There's so much more to do in the body. So protein is really important, guys. It is the most important of all the macronutrients. Okay. Next on the list, guys, is fats. Fats are the guys that got the bad rap in the late 90s, guys. So first off, it was sodium in the early 90s, then it was fats, then it was carbs. Now I believe it tends to be things like gluten. But guys, in the late 90s, you'll see, remember, everything was low fat this, low fat that. Well, guys, fats are super important for the body. They actually help to hormone production. So estrogen in women and testosterone in males. In the case of males, guys, testosterone is actually created from a thing called cholesterol, which is a type of fat. And cholesterol actually floats down into the testicles to go to a special cell called the Leydigs, and the Leydigs is where testosterone is actually made. Okay, for women, guys, fats actually help to keep your uterine lining at the correct thickness. So those of you who are, for example, trying IVF, if your uterine lining isn't the correct thickness, you can't get the egg to bond, okay? So that's really important as well. So guys, fats actually help to control that thickness and keep women healthy. So it's really important for that as well. Because fats also help to absorb and store the fat-soluble vitamins. So vitamin A, D, E, and K are really, really, really important to fats, or I should say fats are really important to them, because the fats actually help to keep them like a suitcase. They keep them in our body and allow us to have a reserve of those important nutrients. Okay, so that's really important as well. Now, guys, there are 3 main types of fats. There's a monounsaturated fat, a polyunsaturated fat, and a saturated fat. And rather than me going into massive detail about what's what and who does what in the zoo, it's important to say to you that the best thing we can do for our health is keep that ratio at 33% or 1/3 of each of the types of fats. And that includes the saturated fats, guys. Saturated fats in the past had a really bad rap. However, we now know them not to be the nasties and can actually benefit our health, including heart health, which is what they got the rap for in the first place back in the day. So it's really important we do keep 1/3 of each of those fats. And guys, what we do want to avoid is the fourth type of fat, which is called the trans fat. Now, this is primarily a man-made fat. You can find some trans fats in nature, but they're very rare. So in most cases, like things like hydrogenated vegetable oils are trans fats. And unfortunately, the body can't process them properly, and they are more inclined to create new fat cells out of trans fats. So please try and keep those to a minimum, okay? Moving down, guys, to carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are the body's main source of energy. So when we go out for a run, or we attend a class, or we go to the gym, those things are often using carbohydrates as our energy source. Even when I'm talking to you right now, I'm actually using carbohydrates to do this, okay? So there are two main sources of carbohydrates, guys. It's simple and complex carbohydrates. The simple carbs break down very, very quickly, and they're really only suitable for most people after a point of exertion. So after a session or after a training session, it allows the body to recover and restore energy levels quickly. But you also find that, guys, because simple carbs break down so quickly, you will find you'll be hungrier faster, and that's because they what's called gastric empty. The gastric emptying process is very quick, and that promotes a hunger hormone called ghrelin, and that actually makes us feel hungrier faster. Whereas with the complex carbohydrates, they break down much, much slower, and they often contain a lot more fiber in them, and the fiber makes us feel fuller for longer. Okay, you'll also find that complex carbohydrates sustain our energy system for a much longer period of time, and it helps to avoid the sugar crash, which I'm sure we're all aware of. Okay, so guys, I will point out that your body needs carbohydrates to maintain optimal health. Not every day, but they do need carbohydrates to maintain optimal health. Carbs have a lot more to do with the body than most people think, but they are important to our energy systems from reproduction in women right through to studying for an exam or running a marathon. Carbohydrates are absolutely necessary for our optimal health, okay? So guys, we'll move down now to sodium and dietary fiber down the bottom of this panel. So sodium, guys, it's really important to understand that sodium, while it does get a hugely negative rap, it is very important to have sodium in our body. So sodium is very important as one of the electrolytes in our system. So it actually keeps us hydrated, and actually helps to hold water in the body, which means we don't dehydrate and die, to be honest. So sodium is massively important for that. However, too much sodium has been linked to a variety of health concerns, including one called atherosclerosis, which is actually hardening of the artery. So it's really important, guys, we don't have too much sodium. And in Australia, we actually recommend a daily intake of 1,650 milligrams with a maximum intake of 2,500 milligrams. However, I will point out most of us actually consume almost double that. So we want to try and bring our sodium down dramatically. Now, I'll touch on this one as well. Sodium is not salt, okay? Sodium is not salt. Sodium is in salt, but it's not salt. Salt, which we know to be sodium chloride, or table salt as we call it, is only 45% sodium and 55% chloride. So if you are trying to work out your daily intake of sodium, don't just say, well, I had 2 grams of salt, therefore I had 2 grams of sodium. It doesn't work that way. It's 45% of the salt, which is how much sodium is in that, okay? So guys, now on to fiber. Now guys, there are different types of fiber, okay? And they all do different things in the body. So soluble fiber, it helps to regulate our blood sugar levels and keep us healthy that way. It also helps to make us feel fuller for longer by slowing that gastric emptying I talked about before with the carbohydrates. So soluble fiber is very common in complex carbohydrates, and it helps keep us fuller for longer so we don't go reaching for the snacks as quickly. Now, insoluble fiber, guys, insoluble fiber actually helps to absorb fluid in our gut, and actually helps prevent things like bloating, but it also helps to act as a street sweeper and keeps us regular in our bowel movements as well. And that's really important we do that, because otherwise the body pulls water from our bowels and we can get things like constipation, which is not good for anyone around us, okay? So guys, the final type is called resistant starch, and that's the stuff that feeds our bacteria. That's really good for our digestive system and really, really good to keep our gut nice and healthy and help us digest all the nutrients and pull all the vitamins and minerals out of our food. So if the bacteria is nice and healthy, a lot of the times we're nice and healthy. That's one of the biggest things to remember as well. How much is too much, guys? Well, guys, we should be aiming for 30 to 35 grams of fiber each day. So guys, well, a lot of us aren't hitting that, so that's why it's really important we do get our 5 serves of veggies every single day, because veggies are very, very rich in dietary fiber. Okay, we'll move on now, guys, to the ingredients. Now, here's the ingredients one. This is a bit of a tricky one, and I know a lot of people aren't sure how to read this, okay? Now, guys, I'm going to read off the screen here. So ingredient list, typically, the first ingredient is the most prominent in that particular product. So in this example, guys, there's a loaf of bread, as I said before. Water is the first ingredient, and it would be the highest amount of volume used to make this loaf of bread. Now, a reason I read that so verbatim is because of the fact I want to touch on some herbs and spices, okay? So a lot of you guys are using herbs and spices to flavor your chicken or flavor your steak. I want to touch on one, I'll give you an example called Moroccan spice. Now in Moroccan spice, just like the water's listed there, as the major ingredient, Moroccan spice often has the first ingredient being dextrose, the second ingredient will be garlic, and the third ingredient will be maltodextrose, which is just another version of sugar. So we've got dextrose, which is the type of sugar, we've got garlic to flavor the product, and we've got maltodextrin, which is another type of sugar, which is often why when you put it on your chicken and you bake it, it gets that nice hard crust on top. It's because the sugar actually melting over the meat. So what we do, guys, is we actually recommend you use pure spice, pure herbs, or alternatively a variety like the mingle spices, which have no filler or no sugar in them as well. So it's really important, guys, you do understand that often ingredients, the first product, or just the first product, all the products are written in sequence on how much has been added to each. Sorry, how much is in the product in a descending order. Okay. So looking at the ingredient panel, guys, it's a great way to look for hidden sugars masked by other names or heavily processed ingredients such as vegetable oils. Okay, so here there's not masked at all. It says straight there, it says vegetable oil written there. But guys, as I mentioned before about the sugar, it says here dextrose and it says in brackets corn derived. While that's not important because dextrose is sugar, sugar is sugar, it is what it is. A lot of the times you might see some tricky names for sugar, or they might say, for example, on the label, once again going back to that marketing concern we mentioned before, you might say like cane sugar free, but then you look on the ingredient panel and it'll have coconut sugar, or it might have palm sugar, or it might have some sort of other sugar that technically is cane sugar free, but it doesn't mean there's no sugar in the product. It simply means that they're deriving it from a different source, just like in this instance here where it's corn derived. Okay, it's not a cane sugar. Okay. You'll also see manufacturers often add synthetic vitamins, just like in bread. In fact, I believe in Australia they actually have to add synthetic vitamins to bread in a commercial setting. They don't in places like Brumbies and different bakeries, but in commercial settings they actually have to add vitamins. So in this case, you'll see down the bottom on the right hand side it says thiamine. Thiamine is actually a B vitamin. So they add synthetic vitamins to appear more nutritious for the consumer. And the reason they do that is because they use bleached flour. And when you bleach flour, it strips the nutrients out of the flour. So they add it back in synthetically. Okay. So guys, you'll also notice, not on this one in particular, however, there is one number there, which I can see for vegetable gum. You'll often see an ingredient panel that has a list of numbers on there. So down the bottom there, you'll see I said 950, 955, and 951. What these are called E numbers. The E stands for Europe, for those of you who are wondering what it means. But they stand for Europe numbers, and they're actually ranked in sequence. So in this case, you'll see I've used all 9 numbers, so 950, 955, 951. It's because anything above 700 is a sweetener. So 950 is acetylene potassium, or ACE as they call it for short. 955 is sucralose, and 951 is aspartame. Okay, but anything over 700 is indicative of a sweetener, and I believe it's 100 to 300 is a color. Okay, and then the other ones are blended through the different sort of ingredients they use. The 400s, as you can see on this particular panel here, where it says vegetable gum, they're thickeners or emulsifiers. Okay. So 400s are emulsifiers. Guys, we'll move on now. We'll go on to the star system for packaged foods. Now, you may have seen this of late on your packaged foods. It's really important we do understand how to read this and where people go wrong with this system, okay? So while this product in particular is 4.5 stars, it's important to understand that the star system does not rank food in order of health. Okay, that's the biggest misconception. People think, oh, well, this is 5 stars. Oh, this is 4 stars. It's only starred against its like other products. So what I mean by that is it's biscuit versus biscuit, not biscuit versus Vegemite. Okay, so for example, if you see a biscuit with 3 stars and another biscuit with 3.5 stars, the biscuit with 3.5 stars is the better of the 2 biscuits, but it doesn't mean it's better than, say, an apple. All right, the biscuits are all versing other biscuits, and this is the reason why you might see, for example, biscuits which are better than, say, Greek yogurt. It's not that the biscuit is healthier; it's that in the rankings of the other biscuits, that biscuit is better than another biscuit, but it's still not going to be better than, say, a yogurt. But the yogurt in which you're looking at may be better, maybe not as good as some other yogurts. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I hope I'm trying to be clear with this one. But guys, please understand that it's not ranking against all the foods. It's just ranking against the foods in its own category, okay? Now, finally, guys, you'll notice that there are some products which can't help but have a low star rating. And the reason why that is because they contain certain macros which are not deemed to be healthy. An example of this would be olive oil, raw nuts, and coconut yogurt. We know that olive oil is fantastic for heart health. It's full of poly and monounsaturated fats. It's full of things called tocophenols and tocotrienols, and they're fantastic for your heart. We know that raw nuts have the highest density of minerals pretty much available in all foods, and we know that coconut yogurt or coconuts in general are antimicrobial, antibacterial, antifungal, fantastic for the gut. They create an energy system, but it doesn't matter because the way the star system is utilized, it deems them to be unhealthy in all cases. Okay, so just because a star system is higher, or star rating is higher, does not necessarily mean the food is better for you. It just means it's better for you than another product within that food range. Guys, that is all I've got to say today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it cleared up some concerns you may have had. Thank you for listening. If you do have any further information, or you want some further information or have some questions, please don't hesitate to ask myself or reach out to one of our team members. Cheers, guys. Have a great evening.